श्रियं च दद्यात् भवतां पुरारि यदङ्गतेजः प्रसरे भवानीं विराजते निर्मलचन्द्रिकायां महौषधीवज्ज्वलिता हिमात्रम्. Good evening, a warm welcome to all of you to this second session of Muniyal Ayurveda webinar, third in the series. It's a pleasure to address all of you with the topic pharmacotherapeutics of Ayurvedic formulations in diabetes mellitus. Prameha, Madhumeha, diabetes mellitus are the topics that are being discussed in various scientific fora, including the field of Ayurveda for several decades. There are a number of dissertations that have been carried out regarding the management of Madhumeha with special reference to diabetes mellitus, etiopathogenesis of diabetes mellitus, etc. Still, I feel this topic is relevant because today I will be speaking with a different idea in my mind. I am making an attempt to explain you the probable mode of action of Ayurvedic herbs, polyherbal formulations, and herbomineral formulations based on the insights from modern pharmacology. This is very essential for some important reasons. A week ago, when I was talking to my audience in a webinar on adverse drug reactions, I quoted an incident that was reported by Dr. Urmila Katte in her article on ADRs of Ayurvedic formulations. She writes about a male patient aged about 61 years, a known diabetic whose glycemic control was satisfactory with insulin and oral hypoglycemia. He went to an Ayurvedic doctor to receive medicines for his psoriasis. He started taking those medicines, and in 5 days, he had altered sensorium and he was brought to an allopathic doctor. It was found that he had hypoglycemia. He went into hypoglycemic coma and ultimately he succumbed. Why this has happened? There are many medicines in Ayurveda which are used for Jwara, Kushta, Medoroga, etc., which have a few ingredients which are having hypoglycemic activity. If we are not aware of possible herb-drug interaction, possible antagonistic or synergistic effect of our drugs with allopathic drug that the patient is already taking, such problems do occur. Especially when patients of diabetes mellitus come to us, we treat them through Ayurveda. Most of the patients, as you have observed, are already under some allopathic drug. They come to you either to withdraw those drugs, considering that they may cause adverse effects, or they may already be experiencing some adverse effects. Or patients may be coming to you who are on insulin and they want to withdraw or stop insulin. In such situation, you will be giving your medicines also, and you will be asking the patient to continue the medicine that he is already taking. What about possible herb-drug interaction? How safe it is to take both the medicines together? What about the role of such concomitant drug administration? How to space them? How to adjust the dose? These are all the things which are to be seriously addressed. If you know the pharmacology of your drugs, then you can at least predict what is going to happen, and accordingly you can plan your medicine. So this is the main reason why I selected this topic. Today, I may not be talking in terms of Ayurvedic principles like Rasa Panchaka. I will be talking purely on the basis of pharmacology. This is an attempt, hopefully, will help you. So let me start sharing my slides and we will go deep into the subject slowly. So my title is Pharmacotherapeutics of Ayurvedic Formulations in Diabetes Mellitus. Initially, a few regular customary slides, which you know very well. Diabetes mellitus is a group of diseases characterized by high levels of blood glucose resulting from defects in insulin production or defects in insulin action or both. The effects of diabetes mellitus include long-term damage, dysfunction, and failure of various organs. When you talk about type 2 diabetes mellitus, it's a chronic metabolic disorder in which prevalence has been increasing steadily all over the world. As a result of this trend, it is fast becoming an epidemic in some countries of the world, with the number of people affected expected to double in the next decade due to increase in aging population, thereby adding to the already existing burden for healthcare providers, especially in poorly developed countries. It's important for us to understand the problem statement. In India, about 50.9 million people suffer from diabetes, and this figure is likely to go up to 80 million by 2025, making India as the diabetes capital of the world. Some scientists already have announced India as the diabetes capital. So now, unfortunately, incidence of diabetes mellitus is increasing in younger age group also, including adolescents, which is the most productive period of life. So I'm not elaborating these types of diabetes, which you know very well, and the classifications are changing from time to time. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus, gestational diabetes, or other types like LADA, latent autoimmune diabetes in adults, MODY, that is maturity onset diabetes of youth, secondary diabetes mellitus, etc. When you talk about modern management, as all of us know, there is no cure that has been established for the disease. However, treatment modalities include lifestyle modifications, treatment of obesity, oral hypoglycemic agents, use of insulin sensitizers like metformin, which is a biguanide that reduces insulin resistance, and it is still the recommended first-line medication, especially for obese patients. And if you see the history of metformin, it has a relation with plant source, Telega officinalis, from which a biguanide was extracted, and the preliminary forms like fenformin, etc., which are obsolete now, were developed, and the chemical structure was modified, and current form of metformin is developed, which is now completely synthetic. It is important for us to understand modern drug management so that we can compare the mode of action of our herbal or herbomineral products also. The recent research into the pathophysiology of type 2 diabetes mellitus has led to the introduction of new medications. All of you know about biguanides, sulfonylureas, or these. there are new medications that are being introduced. To quote few examples, glucagon-like peptide-1 analogs or GLP-1 analogs, we call them. Exenatide is the example. So Bydureon is the commercial brand that is available. Then we have dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitors. For example, teneligliptin and sitagliptin, which are recently introduced. Then we have inhibitors of the sodium glucose cotransporter 2, for example, dapagliflozin or also known as Farxiga, and inhibitor of 11 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase 1. We have insulin releasing glucokinase activators and pancreatic G protein coupled fatty acid receptor agonists. For example, Fesiglifan. And these drugs are under their design stage, not yet to be introduced for commercial utilization. We have glucagon receptor antagonists, then metabolic inhibitors of hepatic glucose output and quick release bromocriptine. You must have heard about bromocriptine, which is a dopamine agonist. It's used to treat conditions like Parkinsonism and hyperprolactinemia. And it is found that it is useful in the management of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Now we have the products like Cycloset in the market, which contains quick release bromocriptine. There are other effective medications that include non-sulfonylurea secretagogues, like again metformin. Then thiazolidinediones like pioglitazone, which is becoming popular now, to quote the brand name Pios 15 or 30 milligram tablets. Then rosiglitazone by the brand name Reglit or Rosinorm. Then we have alpha glucosidase inhibitors, which is again becoming popular. Most of you have heard Voglibos. Volix is the brand name, and of course insulin. In 2006, inhaled insulin was also licensed, but it has been withdrawn from the market because of low patronage and also inconsistent plasma concentration. If you are talking about the management of Prameha with the Ayurvedic point of view, all of you are well versed in that. I will not elaborate that. We have discussed this under two headings like Chikitsa Sutra, which talks about principles of treatment, and actual Chikitsa, how do you manage it. In Chikitsa Sutra, in Charaka Samhita, it is clearly mentioned as Stulaha Pramehi Balavani Haikaha Krishasthateika Parinudbalasya Sambrahmanam Tacha Krishasya Karyam Samshodanam Doshabaradikas. Agnivisha has clearly mentioned that patients who are obese and strong, we have to adopt Samshodhana treatment, and who are asthenic and weak, we have to go for Brahmana Chikitsa. Most of the Prameha are Kapha Pradhana, but in Madhumeha, Vata becomes dominant. So we have to target both Kapha and Vata simultaneously, which is a challenge. In Sushrata Samhita also, same thing is mentioned. Tatra Krisham Annapana Pratisamskritabihi Kriyabihi Chikitseta Sthulam Apatarpana Yuktabihi. The Krisha Pramehi should be treated with the Santarpana measures, processed diet and drink, while obese should be treated with Apatarpana measures like Yayama, Shodhana, etc. When we talk about Chikitsa specific, it consists of a triangular approach, Ahara, Vihara, and Aushadhi. Now we will talk about Aushadhi aspect, where first we will talk in a broad sense on herbal drugs, whether they are belonging to Ayurveda or not. Now the major question is here in front of us. Why herbal drugs? The associated complications of synthetic drugs have led to a shift towards locating natural resources showing anti-diabetic activity. The Indian prehistoric literature reports more than 800 plants with anti-diabetic properties, while ethnopharmacological surveys indicate that more than 1,200 plants can be used for hypoglycemic activity. There are much more plants which are yet to be evaluated. Herbs are also known to provide symptomatic relief, not just hypoglycemic action, but also they provide symptomatic relief and aid in the prevention of the secondary complications of the disease. And also, they help in lowering cholesterol, which is abnormally elevated. Some of these herbs have also been proven to help in the regeneration of beta cells and in overcoming insulin resistance. In addition to maintaining normal blood glucose level, many of these also possess antioxidant activity. If you observe complications associated with anti-diabetic modalities, you will understand why these herbal drugs are very important. According to a study, around 3.2 million deaths, that is about 6 deaths per minute every year, is attributed to complications of diabetes. The side effects or complications that are associated with the diabetes pharmacotherapy, that is pharmacotherapy with the synthetic drugs, can be studied under 3 categories. Some are common side effects, some are uncommon side effects, and some are rare side effects. The most common side effects associated with oral hypoglycemic drugs include hypoglycemia or extremely low blood sugar, then gastrointestinal side effects like bloating of abdomen, nausea, etc. Increase in bad cholesterol like LDL. Certain uncommon side effects include congestive cardiac failure, anemia, and allergic reactions. And there are rare side effects or complications like thrombocytopenia, lactic acidosis, leukopenia, macular edema, and liver disease, ultimately liver failure. Now let us understand recent advances which speak about the pharmacological action of herb and herbal formulations. If we understand this, then we can try to compare their action with the modern drugs and possible interaction between them. There are at least 13 different modes of action of these herbal ingredients against diabetes that have been identified. First one, drugs acting like insulin. Second, drugs acting on insulin secreting beta cells. Third, drugs modifying glucose utilization. Fourth, drugs showing adrenomimeticism. That means drugs acting similar to epinephrine and norepinephrine. Then pancreatic beta cell potassium channel blockers. CAMP stimulators, which are the second messengers. Renal glucose resorption inhibitors. There are herbal drugs that provide certain necessary elements like calcium, zinc, magnesium, manganese, and copper that are required for the health of beta cells. There are certain drugs that regenerate and or repair pancreatic beta cells which are damaged in the pathology. There are some drugs which act as effectors of size and number of cells in the islets of Langerhans. There are some drugs which stimulate glycogenesis and hepatic glycolysis. There are drugs preventing pathological conversion of starch to glucose by inhibition of beta galactosidase, alpha glycosidase, and alpha amylase. And lastly, there are drugs preventing oxidative stress that is possibly involved in pancreatic beta cell dysfunction found in diabetes. Now let us take some examples of popular hypoglycemic drugs used in Ayurveda. I am quoting three important herbs here: Karavellaka, Methika, and Madhunashini. This bitter gourd, fenugreek, and Gymnema sylvester are found in most of the herbal preparations that are available today in the market as anti-diabetics. Substances like bitter gourd and Methika are used as home remedy by many of the patients who are suffering from diabetes. So I found that these are the important examples that I can pick up to explain the mode of action. So these three drugs have four important modes of action. So this is important because it is not that one herb is showing only one type of action against diabetes mellitus. A herb has got multiple phytoconstituents, and network pharmacology is something which is being discussed. These phytoconstituents, they act on different receptors, different targets, different biological pathways, and show their action. If you are considering only hypoglycemic activity, these three drugs show their hypoglycemic activity by these four mechanisms. One is they increase insulin secretion. Second, they enhance glucose uptake by adipose and skeletal muscle tissues. Third, they inhibit intestinal glucose absorption. And fourth, they inhibit hepatic glucose production. So these are the popular drugs: Karavellaka, Methika, and Meshashringi or Madhunashini, Gymnema sylvester. There are several medicinal plants whose extract modulate different pathways, say glycolysis, Krebs cycle, gluconeogenesis, HMP shunt pathway, glycogen synthesis and their degradation, cholesterol synthesis, metabolism and absorption of carbohydrates, synthesis and release of insulin, aldose reductase pathway, and free radical scavenging action in the human body. Let me quote these examples here. To consider Ayurvedic medicinal plants that regulate glycolysis and Krebs cycle, there is Bilwa, Ethyl marmelos, which contains Egelin B and G, citosterol, marmelosin, marmesin, etc. We have Lashuna, Allium sativum. We have Ciceria esculenta. We have Bringaraja or Eclipta alba containing vedolactone. Along with vedolactone, it also contains dimethyl vedolactone. We have Jambu containing malic acid, gallic acid, and tannins. We have Guduchi with the tinosporine, etc. So these are the pictures of Ciceria esculenta, Bilwa, Lashuna, Bringaraja, etc. Jambu, Guduchi. We have medicinal plants that inhibit glyconeogenesis. To quote the example, Coccinia indica, that is Bimbi, which contains pectin and beta citosterol. We have Mamajjaka or Henicostemma littoral, a popular drug used in Gujarat in the form of Mamajjiva Ganavati. We have Karavellaka containing charanthins. We have Lavanga, Syzygium aromaticum. We have Methika, which also inhibits glyconeogenesis. So these are Bimbi, Lavanga, and Mamajaka. We have medicinal plants that inhibit cholesterol synthesis. To quote an example, Vata, Ficus bengalensis. We have medicinal plants that inhibit alpha glucosidase activity, like Avartaki, that is Acacia auriculata, Hypnocarpus vaitiana, Thoracarpeda. We have Morus alba. We have Chirocarpus marsupium, a popular asana, and a very popular and very effective Serratia reticulata, Saptarangi or Ekanayaka. We have these Acacia auriculata and Hypnocarpus, you can see here. Morus alba and Chirocarpus, Saptarangi or Ekanayaka. I felt it is essential for me to slightly elaborate the mode of action of the Serratia. Serratia is also used in one of our products, Insulian. So this has the potent antioxidant properties and triglyceride and cholesterol lowering effects, which aid in weight loss. It contains mangiferin, a polyphenol, which enhances the body's sensitivity to insulin and contains inhibitors of sugar digestion and absorption. A study that was carried out in Japan in Kyoto pharmaceutical industry, authorities have found that Serratia shows its anti-obesity effect in laboratory animals, which is probably due to its polyphenols that inhibit fat metabolizing enzymes and enhance lipolysis. Serratia reticulata also suppresses glucose absorption. Alpha glucosidase inhibitors present here decrease the absorption of carbohydrates from the intestine, so resulting in a slower and lower rise in blood glucose throughout the day, especially right after meals. It's very interesting that Serratia contains two potent alpha glucosidase inhibitors, salicylanol and cotalenol. Scientists also say that Serratia is a more potent glucose inhibitor than acarbose, a commercially available alpha glucosidase inhibitor found in diabetic medication. There are medicinal plants that inhibit glucose absorption like Artemisia valens, Bauhinia candicans, a variety of Kanchanara, a variety of Damanaka and a variety of Kanchanara. There are many medicinal plants that increase insulin secretion, like Ebelmochus moscatus. We have Abies pindro, Acacia arabica, that is Babula, Agaricus campestris, that is Chakraka, aloe vera, Asparagus ascendens, Biophytum sensitivum. We have Bauhinia variegata, the Kanchanara, Vipina plurians, the Kapikachu, Ocimum sanctum, the Tulasi, Ocimum canum, Ocimum species, which is also called as Ramatulasi locally. We have Cinnamomum cassia, that is Patranga. We have Cinnamomum zelenicum, that is Twak. Citrus colocynthis, then Coriandrum sativum, that is Dhanyaka. Ficus religiosa or Ashwatha, Gymnema sylvester or Meshashringi, Helictrus isor or Avartaki, Lupha cylindrica, Musa sapientum, Vinca rosea, Acheranthus aspera, that is Apamarga. There are many such medicinal plants that increase insulin sensitivity. And also, they stimulate insulin secretion. There are medicinal plants that inhibit aldose reductase. For example, we have Chakramartha, Cassia tora, Haridra, Karpuma longa, Phlanthus niluri, Bhumyamalaki. Then there are insulinomimetic drugs like Abies pindro, Allobarbadensis, Electrus, Annona squamosa, Babula, etc. This is Aedes Vidiana. There is a type of Tharisapatra. This is Babula. This is Kumari. This is Annona squamosa. This is Avera bilimbi, Bixa or Sinduri. We have Purarnava. We have Lanka or Capsicum putrescens. We have Twak. We have Thylaparni or Eucalyptus globosus. We have Ashwatha. We have Japa. We have Avartaki. We have Juniperus communis. We have Swarsha Chiraka or Kirakatikta. We have Vincarosia, Ardraka, etc. acting in this manner. If you observe classical herbal formulations that are used in practice, there are a number of formulations available. To quote a few, Vati or Gutika, maybe Shiva Gutika, Chandra Prabhavati, Bhokshuradi Gugulu, Yoshadi Gugulu, or a churna like Tripala Churna, Amritadi Churna, Vara Churna, Nisha Churna, Guduchi Churna, Sudarshana Churna, or it may be Kashaya or Kashayam tablet like Nisha Katakali Kashayam, Kataka Khadirali Kashayam. We have Sandhana Kalpas like Ayaskruti, Lodhrasavam, Devadar Varishtam. We have classical other Sneha formulations like Dhanvantaram Dhritam, Shira Balatailam, etc. There are several studies carried out on these polyherbal classical formulations, which you can get under various reference sections. Just I will pick up one reference for you. That is effect of treatment with the Nishamalaki powder on glycemic control and markers of erythrocyte oxidative stress in diabetic rats compared to troglycazole. This is a study carried out by Guru Prasad Rao et al. And published. So glycemic control exerted by Nishamalaki powder in diabetic rats is comparable to that of glyburide and troglycazole. Antioxidant protection offered by this preparation compares favorably with troglycazole and is greater than glyburide, suggesting a role for this preparation in the management of diabetes mellitus. So this is about some of the ideas regarding the possible modes of action of individual herbal drugs on diabetes mellitus, and also the compound formulations that are coming under herbal formulation category. Now, in next session, I will take up application of Rasaushati in the management of diabetes mellitus. See you again in the next session. Thank you for joining me. Yasmin sarvam, yatha sarvam, yaha sarvam, sarvatashchaya, yascha sarvamayo nityam, tasmai sarvatmane namah. Dear friends, welcome again to Munyala Ayurveda webinar 3, to this third and final session. Thanks for joining me again. In earlier session, I spoke about the pharmacotherapeutics of herbs and herbal formulations of Ayurveda in diabetes mellitus. When we talk about Ayurvedic formulations or Ayurvedic medicines, it is very, very important for us to speak about Rasaushadhis or herbo-mineral formulations. Otherwise, it becomes incomplete. So I thought of talking about the clinical evidences and also pharmacological evidences of efficacy of Rasaushadhi in managing diabetes mellitus. So let me start with the screen sharing. Application of Rasaushati in the management of diabetes mellitus. So that is how I have entitled this session. There are several Rasaushadis mentioned for Prameha and Madhumeha in various texts. Of course, only few of them are in clinical practice. Let me just list out a few of them randomly. Shilajatu Rasayana, which mainly contains Shuddha Shilajatu. Then Makshika Bhasma, administered in a dose of about 1 to 2 rati, along with Salasana Nigada Kashaya and honey. We have Vanga Bhasma, Naga Bhasma, Yashada Bhasma, Trivanga Bhasma, which is an ingredient of several proprietary herbo-mineral Ayurvedic formulations mentioned for diabetes mellitus. Swarnavanga, the Talastha Pupipakwa Rasayana, is administered in a dose of about 1 to 2 rati, that is 125 to 250 milligram with honey and butter. We have Chandrakala Rasa. Chandrakala Rasa is found to be very useful in management of diabetic neuropathy, for which I am using it regularly in my clinical practice. Chandrakala Rasa is mentioned in Dahadikara. In diabetic neuropathy, when you have symptoms like burning sensation in feet, this acts very well. If paresthesia is more, then you may have to opt other Rasaushadis like Brihatvati Chintamani or Ekangvira Rasa. When Daha is predominant, Chandrakala Rasa is very useful. At the same time, a couple of studies also have been conducted and published where Chandrakala Rasa has shown hypoglycemic effect also. That is the advantage of this formulation. We have Meha Mudgara Rasa, Meha Kalana Rasa, Panchanana Rasa, Shukramatrika Rasa, two different references of Vangeshwara Rasa, Brihat Vangeshwara Rasa, which has got a unique anupana of Ajakshira, Gokshira and Dathi. Chandra Prabhavati, such a popular formulation, the mineral compounds. Pramehan Vimshatim, Krishna Mudra Akasam Tatashmarim. They have the indications. All the types of Prameha it is mentioned. We have Prameha Kulantaka Rasa, Vasanta Kusmakara Rasa, which I have found very useful in resistant diabetes mellitus. An expensive preparation. If not possible for you to give one tablet every day, you can powder and dilute it with components like Amalaki Churna and Bhuti Sattva and administer. It is really very useful in resistant diabetes mellitus. Within a week, glycemic level will start improving. In addition, it is a very good rasayana also. We have Vidangadi Lauha, Veda Vidyavati, Vangashtaka, Navayasa Yoga, Mehavajra Rasa, Yogeshwara Rasa, Vasanta Tilaka, Indravati, Harishankara and Brihata Harishankara Rasa, Prameha Setu Rasa, Meghanada Rasa, Ananda Bhairava Rasa, where Apasmare Anile, Mehe, it is mentioned. So Meha is an indication of Ananda Bhairava Rasa. Meha Kesari Rasa, Mehantaka Rasa, Sarveshwara Rasa, Apurva Malini Vasanta, then Prameha Chintamani Rasa, Brihat Somanatha Rasa, Salasaradi Leha, Vangavaleha. These are a few examples of herbo-mineral compounds that can be effectively used in diabetes mellitus. The topic is very elaborated. I Will not touch each and every formulation and discuss. Let me just pick up a few formulations which have been scientifically evaluated. To start with Shilajit. Shilajit in diabetes mellitus. Everybody agrees that Shilajit is probably the best drug mentioned for MEHA. But whenever I speak about Shilajit, I am always skeptical because of non-availability of Shilajit, which is genuine and pure. Shilajit is being used in far higher quantity today across the globe than the quantity that is available. It's a huge topic to discuss about the adulteration of Shilajit, availability of the Shilajit, difficulties faced in using Shilajit, which may be out of context. But I felt it is essential for me to express my concern. Shilajit alone or Shilajit in many other formulations like Chandra Prabhavati, Shilajit Adinauka, Shilajit Rasayana, etc. is highly indicated in various types of Rameha. You know that Naso asti Huisartha Rupa, Shilahoyam Yanna Vinihanti Tasahyam. There is no disease, no Kapha diseases, none of the mehas that cannot be treated by Shilajit. So these are the words of praise. So diabetes in this study was induced in albino rats by administering a single dose of Anaxon. And 3 different doses of Shilajit, 50, 100 and 200 milligram per kg per day were tried. It was administered for 4 weeks. And a combination of Shilajit with either glibenclamide or metformin for 4 weeks were studied on blood glucose and lipid profile. The study was published by N.A. Trivedi, B. Mazumdar and others. The result indicates that in diabetic rats, all the 3 doses of Shilajit produced significant reduction in blood glucose levels. And in addition, it also produced beneficial effects on the lipid profile. The maximum effect was observed with the 100 milligram per kg per day dose of Shilajit. Combination of Shilajit at a dose of 100 milligram per kg with glibenclamide 5 milligram per kg per day or metformin 0.5 gram per kg per day significantly enhance the glucose lowering ability and improvement in lipid profile than any of these drugs given alone. So here, combined therapy was found to be beneficial. We will take another example now, Vangabhasma. Vangabhasma showed encouraging results and it is found to be effective to control clinical features of Madhumeha. That is very important. Especially polyuria, intense thirst, and also burning sensation in hands and feet, Hastapadada. They got improved remarkably with an improvement in blood sugar level also. So during the course of treatment, no adverse effects were noticed. Hence, it is clear that Vangabhasma is an ideal drug for the treatment of Madhumeha or diabetes mellitus. So C.A. Laggard and others have published their finding in I. They have reported that features like polyuria and intense thirst showed 100% remission in all the 30 patients who presented these symptoms. In another study conducted by Jalpa Jani at IPGT and RA Jamnagar, role of media in preparation of Vangabhasma was studied and it was evaluated for hypoglycemic and anti-hyperglycemic effect. Pharmacological study produced weak to moderate anti-diabetic activity in rats, showing high initial blood sugar values and increased blood sugar level in diabetic rats having moderate elevation in blood sugar level. Clinical study was carried out in about 50 patients. Highly significant improvement in symptoms like Prabhuta Mutraka, Avila Mutraka, Shuddhaditya, Drishtaditya, and Pindiko were observed in both the groups. In one group, Vastraputi Vangabhasma was used, and the other group, Vangabhasma prepared by regular Jarana and Marana method was used. But unfortunately, in either the groups, there was no marked hypoglycemic effect. There were improvements in clinical features, but there were no considerable glycemic control. Another study was carried out where effect of Putta in the preparation of Vangabhasma with special reference to Madhumeha was studied. An interesting work by Darshan Parmar at IPG Tendare Jamnagar. Pharmacological study showed Vangabhasma 1 had weak anti-hyperglycemic effect in streptozotocin diabetic rats, and Vangabhasma 2 showed moderate effect. Here, Vangabhasma 2 was prepared by using Gajaputta. It showed better activity profile, whereas Vangabhasma 1 was prepared by using Varaha. In addition to producing anti-hyperglycemic effect, it also found to protect liver and kidneys against diabetes-induced fatty changes. Another study of Vangabhasma was carried out in diabetes mellitus. It was a clinical study where both Vangabhasma sample along with Sahapana, Guduchi Ghana and Purana Mathu, following by double-blind study on Madhumeha. The Sahapana also carried out as a control. 250 milligram each sample of Basma along with 250 milligram Sahapana was given in capsule form, and patients are asked to open it in palm and mixed with Puran honey that was applied to them and liquid about 45 minutes before meal. After the completion of study, decoding shows, because this was a double-blind trial, capsules were used which looked similar. So decoding showed that group A contains Vangabhasma prepared by Ardha Gajaputta. Group B contains Vangabhasma prepared by Gajaputta. According to the statistical analysis, better effect was observed in group A, that is Vangabhasma prepared by Ardha Gajaputta, in comparison to group B, that is Vangabhasma prepared by Gajaputta. So Vangabhasma and Abhrakabhasma are very specific types of Bhasmas where Ardha Gajaputta is mentioned. Swarnavanga, another product claimed in Prameha, was studied in normoglycemic rats. Interestingly, it is observed that it showed hypoglycemic effect even in normoglycemic rats at a lower dose also. So this is something which is to be cautiously considered. Nagabhasma, which has got a specific indication in Prameha, and there are many Prameha Hara Rasaushadis containing Nagabhasma. A clinical study indicated that 65% of the patients who were taking other hypoglycemic drugs, along with Shashtiputa Nagabhasma, that is Nagabhasma prepared by giving 60 putas, showed significant reduction in blood sugar level. 50% patients, those on Shashtiputa Nagabhasma alone, also showed considerable reduction in blood sugar. About 25% of the patients who were taking both synthetic hyperglycemics as well as Shashtiputa Nagabhasma had hypoglycemia. So previously they had no control on blood sugar when they were using only synthetic drugs. No hypoglycemic effects were observed in the patients who were treated with Shashtiputa Nagabhasma alone. Serum creatinine, blood urea, urine constituents, and microscopic elements were not affected during and after the 10-time trial. Thus, this study concluded that Shashtiputa Nagabhasma can be recommended as a medicine and also as an adjuvant along with synthetic medicines for the management of diabetes mellitus. Another study was carried out by Tatte P. et al. At IPGT and Jamnagar. The title of the study was A Pharmaceutical Standardization and Toxicity Study of Nagabhasma, prepared by two methods with special reference to Madhumeha, which suggests diabetes mellitus. Pharmacological study with special reference to hypoglycemic and anti-hyperglycemic study revealed that Nagabhasmas prepared with and without java had no hypoglycemic action but possessed moderate anti-hyperglycemic action. On anti-diabetic study, Nagabhasma showed good anti-diabetic action. The clinical trials on test drug Nagabhasma with placebo control, maize starch is used as a placebo in a dosage form of a capsule at a dose of about 60 milligram of half rati, twice daily for about 28 days. Nagabhasma prepared by both methods were found to be equally effective. Yashadabhasma is also having an indication in Madhumeha. Prepared by traditional method, it was evaluated and found to consist nanoparticles of a size of about 200 to 500 nanometers. Predominantly zinc oxide with hexagonal Woodside crystal structure were observed. The effective dose range of zinc ash in oral glucose tolerance tests performed using normoglycemic Vista rats was found to be 3 to 30 milligram per kg. Subsequently, anti-diabetic activity was assessed in streptozotocin-induced type 1 and type 2 diabetic rats. For 4 weeks treatment with zinc ash, that is Yashadabhasma, in a dosage range of 1, 3, and 10 milligram per kg, resulted in improved glucose tolerance, about 16 to 19%, and also it lowered blood glucose levels from 20 to 33%, and reduced serum insulin levels by 27 to 32%. Systemic absorption was assessed by single-dose pharmacokinetic study, where serum zinc levels were found to be elevated by 3.5 folds after oral administration of zinc ash, that is Yashadabhasma. Acute and subacute toxicity tests demonstrated safety of zinc ash up to 300 milligram per kg dose, that is 100 times the efficacy dose in rats. So these findings, the first of their kind, provide concrete scientific evidence that justifies using of Yashadabhasma in diabetes treatment. It is Umrani RD, Agrawal DS, and others who publish this article entitled Anti-Diabetic Activity and Safety Assessment of Ayurvedic Medicine, Yashadabhasma, in bracket, zinc ash in rats, in Indian Journal of Experimental Biology in 2013. Abrakabhasma also is mentioned in Prameha and Meha. It is known as Rasayana also. Dr. Raghav Rao Gundimeha, in his experimental study, found Abrakabhasma mildly effective as hypoglycemic when administered with Katuki Quat. Mode of action of Abrakabhasma may be different. It has antioxidant potential at large. Certainly, it is useful in preventing and reducing several complications of diabetes mellitus, especially diabetic neuropathy. Makaradhwaja was evaluated by Dr. Sanjay Khedekar, one of my good friends. He worked exclusively on Makaradhwaja during his PG and PhD studies. His pharmacological study showed that Makaradhwaja Vati has the better potential in the treatment of hyperglycemia observed in diabetic condition. He prepared Makaradhwaja in 3 batches. In one batch he used Swarnavarka, in another batch he used Swarna Bhasma, and in third batch he used Swarna Patra. Makaradhwaja prepared by Swarna Varka had best activity, and next was prepared by using Swarna Bhasma, and third was the one prepared by using Swarna Patra. Of course, all the three had anti-hyperglycemic activity, at least to some extent. In streptozotocin induced diabetic rats, he has studied the effect of Makaradhwaja samples. The adjuvant GGH per se had weak to moderate anti-hyperglycemic effect, which tapered off during the course of administration. Further, he found that it has the tendency to produce hypertriglyceridemia, and its effect as fatty infiltration in liver and kidneys were also observed. So, very interestingly, GGH, that is Guruji Ghanavati, was found to be inferior to Makaradhwaja even in safety studies. Triushana Loha is another Rasaushadhi which was studied in diabetes mellitus by K.V. Ram Subbarao and others. Here, aqueous extract of Triushana Loha was evaluated. About 40% reduction in blood glucose level was observed. There are many proprietary formulations that are available in the market. I cannot comment on all those formulations as it is out of my expertise and it's unethical also. And many of these formulations are carbo-mineral formulations. If you see the list here, Divicon we have diaceline, we have pancreatic tonic, we have single drug powder like bitter gourd powder. We have Diacare, diabetes daily care, Gurmat powder, Epinsulin, Diabicure, Diabeta, Syndrex, and many more which you must have used in your clinical practice. I can only comment on our product Insulian, which is a tablet that has received a United States patent recently. It's being used clinically for more than 25 years now. And 2 MPhil studies have been carried out. The one study was at Mangalore University, and the other study, a part in the MPhil and also a part in PhD, was carried out in Pharma Marketing Department of Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. And the outcome of the study indicated that this tablet regenerates the islets of Langerhans of pancreas, which secretes insulin. It lowered lipid and cholesterol levels, improved glycogen and protein, thereby protecting patients from the possible complications of diabetes. It showed improvement in oral glucose tolerance test. Protein depletion observed in diabetic animals was reversed. Tissue glycogen depletion observed in diabetic rat was also reversed. Enhanced lipid levels in the diabetic state were found to be markedly reduced after treatment. Enhanced cholesterol levels in the diabetic state were found to be markedly reduced. Enhanced levels of tissue phosphates, acid and alkyl phosphatases, and tissue transaminases in the diabetic tissues showed significant reduction after treatment. Pancreatic amylase activity that were below normal in diabetic animals were elevated. And as I already mentioned in histological study, regeneration of islets of pancreas were observed where beta cells were destroyed when diabetes was induced by injecting elapsol. So this is the normal pancreatic islets. This is the pancreatic islets which are destroyed, necrotized, and here you can see the regeneration of beta cells. Effect of insulin on quality of life was also studied. At M-Pharm level, it was observed that HbA1c level improved by 40% in 3 months. It improved various quality of life parameters. Several clinical studies were also carried out on this. Here, my intention is just to mention that whenever there are several preparations in the market as proprietary preparations that are claimed to be effective, you should always observe that there are extensive scientific studies carried on them, especially on safety and also efficacy in preclinical trial and also in phases of clinical trial. And best if it also includes post-market in quality of life study. Before concluding, I want to just mention some possibilities of herb-drug interaction in diabetes. In the beginning, I mentioned you when I explained the pharmacology of herbs in diabetes mellitus. I introduced you that this explanation is mainly because we have to understand herb-drug interaction in diabetes. There are a few examples here. Increased efficacy has been reported when Carvedilol, that is bitter gourd, was used together with metformin, glimepiride, and glibenclamide. In one of the clinical trials, 400 mg of chloroform and benzene extract of Karela was combined with 50% of the full clinical doses of either metformin or glibenclamide in NIDDM patients. The results showed that the combined interventions elicited a greater hypoglycemic effect when compared to that of full doses of metformin or glibenclamide alone, indicating a possible additive effect. Similar results have also been obtained in animal studies, whereby the combined treatments of bitter gourd fruit juice and extracts and metformin have been shown to produce greater hypoglycemic effects than either treatment alone in rat models of diabetes. In a study by Al-Omaria in a rat model of ceftriaxone-induced diabetes, a concurrent treatment of ginger extract, a simple drug, 25 or 50 mg per kg, and glibenclamide, 5 mg per kg, significantly reduced non-fasting blood glucose, that is random blood glucose, by 26 and 25% respectively. Better result at 25 mg, compared to 7.9% reduction when glibenclamide was used alone. That means almost 3 times better glycemic control was observed when shunting extract was used. In another study, a combination of ginger extract and a suboptimum dose of glibenclamide was found to exert effects similar to a full therapeutic dose of glibenclamide, where half the dose of glibenclamide was used, but result was equal to the full therapeutic dose of glibenclamide when it is administered alone. In addition, ginger also had shown to have nephroprotective effects when used with metformin. So interactions of Mepica, that is fenugreek, with known anti-diabetic drugs were evaluated in several chemically induced diabetic animal models. The combination of fenugreek 150 mg per kg and metformin 100 mg per kg produced a significant reduction in plasma glucose level, about 20.7% in type 2 diabetes. The combination treatment with the fenugreek extract and glibenclamide exhibited a greater inhibition of the hepatic LPO activities, lipid peroxidase activities, and a greater antioxidant activity compared to the individual components alone, highlighting the potential benefit of the combination treatment. Several experimental and clinical studies have been conducted to assess the interaction between garlic and anti-diabetic medicines, such a simple drug. In a rat model, it was found that garlic increased the peak plasma concentration, the Cmax, and the area under curve of metformin, highlighting the need to adjust the dose of metformin when co-administered with garlic. This is a very interesting observation. In another study, garlic alone, as well as in combination with metformin, improved body weight, while the combination therapy was more effective in reducing blood glucose levels, highlighting that garlic extract potentiates the hypoglycemic effect of metformin. Potential beneficial effects of garlic juice in combination with metformin have been shown, where the combination attenuated tubular toxicity induced by gentamicin. An interaction between Gymnema, our Madhunashini or Meshashini, at a dose of about 100 to 500 mg per kg, with metformin in a dose of about 50 and 100 mg per kg, has been studied in streptozotocin-induced diabetic rats. The combined treatment was found to decrease the bioavailability of metformin. Very interesting here. This is something we should carefully remember. If you use Meshashringi alone or Meshashringi containing product or a product which has got high concentration of Madhunashini, if the patient is taking metformin also, therapeutic effect of metformin will be lower, not increased. The combined treatment was found to decrease the bioavailability of metformin and serum glucose level. The decrease in serum glucose level was there, but it was not significantly greater than the metformin itself. Although in histopathological analysis, an increase in volume of pancreatic islet cells were observed after combined therapy. That means here Gymnema may help in stimulating the regeneration of pancreatic islets. So in a longer administration, there may be some use of using Gymnema along with metformin. Otherwise, you will have to adjust. You may have to increase the dose of metformin if at all you are using them together. In an animal study using a chemically induced diabetic rat model, a decrease in plasma metformin concentration and increase in blood glucose level were seen in animals, again treated with a combination of Gymnema T and metformin when compared to those receiving metformin alone, again suggesting an antagonistic interaction between metformin and Gymnema. Andrographis paniculata or Kalamekha is shown to inhibit cytochrome, which is the place where anti-diabetic drugs such as glibenclamide, glimepiride, glipizide, metiglinine, rosiglitazone, pioglitazone, reparinidine substrates, thereby suggesting that there is the potential adverse outcomes. Remember, potential adverse outcomes as a result of an increase in plasma concentration of these medications and subsequent enhanced glucose lowering effect. Although this is a theory not yet confirmed. So here, Andrographis paniculata is shown to inhibit cytochrome, especially CYP2C19 activity. And once this cytochrome is inhibited, naturally, bioavailability and duration of action of all these anti-diabetic drugs will increase, and their action will be more potential. So it is believed that if at all you are using andrographis paniculata along with other anti-diabetic drugs, probably there is a possibility that person may end up with hypoglycemia or anti-diabetic effect of modern drugs will be enhanced. So carefully you will have to adjust the dosage. So all this information are beautifully provided by Gupta R.C., Chang D., Nammi C. and others in an article entitled Interactions Between Anti-Diabetic Drugs and Herbs, an overview of mechanisms of action and clinical implications. Now let me conclude my presentation. A scholar, Raman Chawla et al., in a study proposed an integrated herbal drug development and standardization model, which is an amalgamation of classical approach of Ayurvedic therapeutics, reverse pharmacological approach based on observational therapeutics, technical standards for complete product cycle, cheminformatics, then herbal qualitative structure activity relationship and pharmacophore modeling and post-launch market analysis. Further studies are warranted to ensure that an effective herbal drug standardization methodology will be developed, backed by a regulatory standard guide. The future research endeavors is more focused manner. These are a few of the references I had to go through while preparing my presentation. Sorry if I could not reach you very well, but I tried my level best. Hopefully, most of you are convinced with my presentation. For any of the queries further required, you can drop an email and I will be pleased to clarify within the limitation of my knowledge. Thank you very much for being with me. See you again in the next webinar next week, that is next Friday at 3 p.m. Till then, keep your health intact, be happy. Thank you so much.